the place where NFL legends live on and share their stories. This is the place for our Spotlight on the Positive segment, sharing what's good in the world of sports. This is also the place for the NFL Alumni Association and the Gridiron Greats. This place I speak of, Thursday Night Tailgate. Let's say hello to your hosts, Chris Mascaro and Bob Lazzari. Guys, take it away.
Hey, good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming back and joining us tonight on Thursday Night Tailgate, your home for interviews and insights from some of the greatest players in the history of the NFL. Chris Mascaro and Bob Lazzari here, and tonight, like I say, we'll take you around the NFL and we'll look back at some of the great games of the past with 5 more legends of the game. TNT, we are brought to you by the great folks over at Kyvan Foods, the Louisville Slugger Museum and Factory, the Salt Creek Golf Retreat up in beautiful Nashville, Indiana. Our friends over at Tops and our partners, of course, over at the NFL Alumni Association and Mike Ditka's organization, the Gridiron Greats, who we love, by the way. Please check them out online at gridirongreats.org. Tonight, Bob and we are looking forward to, having 4 good friends, back with us tonight to share the show, plus 1 new rookie will be joining us here tonight on TNT. First up, though, we're going to get a return visit from Rams Super Bowl 35 hero, linebacker Mike Jones. I'm sure you remember seeing Mike, make the game-saving tackle on Titans wide receiver Kevin Dyson at the 1-yard line of that game, preserving the win for the Rams. So we look forward to catching up with Mike about 15 minutes from now. Following him, of course, former Patriots Pro Bowl running back Tony Collins will be here in his regular weekly time slot. About 45 minutes from now, we're going to welcome former Bucs, Cardinals, and Chargers defensive tackle Reuben Davis to the show, and tonight is going to be Reuben's first visit with us, so it'll be great getting to spend some time with him. We'll kick off hour number 2 with a return visit from former Jets and Chiefs guard Jeff Criswell, and then we're going to round out the show with a return visit from one of our really good friends over the many years that we've been doing the show, Marco Coleman, former Dolphins, Redskins, and Chargers Pro Bowl defensive end. Marco has been great to us over the years, so look forward to catching up with him about 90 minutes from now. So, folks, we've got 5 great guests. A lot of great stories coming your way tonight. We can't thank you enough for tuning in and taking the journey with Bob and I over the next couple of hours. But we'll kick things off, I should say, by bringing in my co-host, Mr. Bob Lazzari. Bob, how are you tonight, my friend?
I'm doing okay, Chris. I want to wish everyone, our friends, and all our hard-working listeners, early happy Labor Day. It's going to be a great holiday, and I hope it's a restful one for you, my friend.
I appreciate you. Yeah, it's been today's been a struggle for me on a personal level. One of the hardest days in my professional career, but and also fighting off a cold too. So so hopefully some good rest this weekend is definitely going to be on the menu. But I appreciate the well wishes and the sentiment.
Right.
But Bob, we a lot of things to get into tonight, right? First, as you send out those thanks to the hardworking people of this country, we also want to send out our thoughts and prayers to everyone down in Houston, and along the coast of Texas and Louisiana as well. And goodness knows, Bob, where the storm goes from here. But Hurricane Harvey has taken a huge bite out of Texas, and like I say, our good friends down in Houston. We have a lot of friends down in Houston that both listen to the show, and also a lot of the former players that we've been blessed to have on this show are down there in Houston as well. So our thoughts and prayers go out to everybody down there. So folks, hopefully the water recedes soon and the rebuilding can begin. But we're thinking of you, and like I say, sending our thoughts and prayers certainly your way. And Bob, also want to get, before we get into our Bob's Take segment tonight, talk about your show on the TV side, Monday Night Sports Talk, along with our good friend Tony D'Angelo. And you guys do such a great job on the TV side. Talk about some of the recent guests and who you guys have coming up.
Just posted one today, Chris. You can go to YouTube, the site Monday Night Sports 14, the YouTube channel. We just posted the Jack Perconti interview from last week. We talked to Jack, former infielder, and he gave us a lot of good insight. And he's an instructor, does a lot of writing and things like that. So that was a lot of fun. That's brand new to the website. Next live show, Chris, is the 18th. I think these next 2 Monday nights, they're showing some of our former football guests that have probably appeared on this show too. So, it's rounding into football season, and we're going to slowly make that transition in mid-September. So, MondayNightSports.net, or go to the YouTube channel.
There you go. And like I said in the past, Bob and Tony do such a great job. It's a wonderful show, and we have been fortunate to share some guests back and forth from the radio side to the TV side. So a lot of great interviews are available over there, both on the website and on the YouTube channel. And give them the web address again, Bob. MondayNightSports.net, right?
That's it. And YouTube channel, all one word, Monday Night Sports 14.
There you go.
It's time for another edition of Bob's Take. So, Bob, tell us, what's on your mind tonight?
Yeah, let's get into this week's Bob's Take segment. And Bob, the first thing I want to get your thoughts on is, again, as we mentioned a moment ago, everything going on down in Houston and the devastating impact that Hurricane Harvey has had, on the folks down there. But, one of the things that we've seen in the not too distant past is a catastrophic event like this, galvanizing a city and its sports teams, giving the folks, some, positive things to, come together, go to a sporting event, rally around the team, right? We saw it, not that long ago with Katrina and the New Orleans Saints, and they went on to win a Super Bowl championship. We saw it after the Boston Marathon bombing with the Red Sox. So we got the Texans and the Astros now, they're going to have a heightened sense of awareness, if you will, about their impact on that community, their ability to uplift that community by playing well, and what, positive impact that can have on the folks there. So I wanted to get your take. How inspired do you think those players are going to be to, go out and give something, back to the community of Houston, give them something positive to latch onto as baseball gets now into its postseason, and then, of course, with football season about to kick off?
It's a very tough thing to predict, Chris. This kind of tragedy is nothing like we've ever even talked about. And how it's affecting these 53 guys on this roster, we'll never know. You would think that these guys would want to play their hearts out, thank their fans, and take it to a level that they've never seen before. But we just don't know, Chris. It might be weighing on guys in maybe a not-so-good fashion more than we can ever imagine. My gut feeling is, Chris, they're going to be limited to the talent that's on the team. You and I think we're on the same page about this team defensively. There's probably not going to be a better team that plays the kind of defense they will play. And right away, that's going to win them some games, as you know, with guys like Watt. They're doing what he does, and Clowney and the rest of them. They're just a very, very good defensive team. Offensively, Chris, they're trying to do things today. Hopkins signed a nice contract extension that may keep him there for the rest of his career. Good guaranteed money there. He's one of the best receivers in the game. And, of course, you have guys like Lamar Miller, Dante Foreman. These guys are good offensive players, but the quarterback situation there, Chris, you're at a situation like many people think Deshaun Watson might take over late September, early October. What's going to be the story until then? Somebody has to get the football to a guy like Hopkins. So, again, I think they're going to be limited on offense. They're an average offensive team, Chris, if that, and a stud defensive team. And as you said, defense can go a long way in this league. So, but it's still to know what kind of devastation is happening down there and how it'll affect guys. After 2 or 3 games, I might be able to tell you. I have no doubts that the fans are going to be into this like anything, because they're just going to need something good news happening in their lives to make things make sense to them. But I still think they're just a little bit too limited offensively, Chris, to really, really make this type of a championship type season. But hey, you and I will be the first ones to wish this team luck for sure.
No, absolutely right. And we, like I say, when you think about the folks in Houston and everything that they are going through, and to have the ability to, for the Texans to kick this thing off and have the folks around Houston have something to celebrate and feel, good about for a few hours by going to a Texans game and that sort of thing. I think I think they can feed off one another. Again, like I say, we saw with the Saints, following the tragedy with Hurricane Katrina, we saw the Red Sox certainly elevate their game and win a World Series for that community. So I think it's going to be fun to watch. I think the Texans, to your point, Bob, they've got a wonderful defense. We'll see what their offense can do, but I have a sneaking suspicion, they're going to take their game to a higher level, figuring, not only for the team and themselves, but that they really want to do something special for that community and to galvanize those folks. So it's going to be a fun team to watch. I'm looking forward to watching the Texans this season. Bob, the next thing I want to get your take on is the impact you think that the loss of Julian Edelman is going to have on the, on the Patriots offense. It seems like nothing ever bothers the Patriots, right? No matter what it is, players come and go all the time off of that roster. They keep moving forward. They've added Brandon Cook at wide receiver, giving Brady a deep threat. And, Edelman was going to be the perfect complement on those underneath routes. But like I said, they've lost him for the season due to a knee injury. So, Bob, what's your take? What do you think is, the impact is going to be losing Edelman on this offense?
Well, right away when it happened, Chris, right away people are thinking this is devastating, and it is. You don't replace a guy like that. You can retool, you can rearrange things, and nobody will do it better than New England. They never cease to amaze me, not just because I'm up here, it's just because they just do what they do. And I don't think it's a question of they don't have the talent, Chris. It's going to come down to his injuries more about disrupting a little bit of the team chemistry. Nobody had better chemistry than himself and Brady. And when you look at the talent, Chris, guys like Hogan and Mitchell and Cooks and Amendola as a slot guy. I mean, these are all guys. They're all very talented players. It's just that they're concerned, the people that I know in this area, about the leadership ability of Edelman. Can you replace that? Probably not. So, but knowing Brady and knowing McDaniels and Belichick and the whole system, Chris, somehow they're going to do what they do. They're going to get as much as they can out of Hogan. He's a good guy that's kind of a deep guy. He's not the kind that's going to go over the middle like an Edelman do. He'll get their great play out of Cooks. I have no doubt about that. And Gronkowski is Gronkowski. They just have too much, Chris, not to do good. It's just a matter of how Brady spreads it around and gets no one hurt. The problem here is Amendola has got that moniker that he gets hurt too much, which is true, but if you limit his touches, Chris, and spread it around, I don't see them missing much of a beat at all. It is the Patriots.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right, Bob? Like I said a moment ago, as players come and go off this roster, as they've had other injuries in the past, it's just next man up, and they just move right along, and it doesn't seem to impact or phase them. They have the ability, Belichick has the ability to get the most probably out of his players more than any other coach in the league. So yeah, he's got somebody, whether that's, Amendola gets a few more catches than they planned, or there's somebody else on this roster that they will step up and fill that void. So yeah, I don't expect, to your earlier point, is it a big blow? Yes. Are they certainly way better with him than without him? Of course. But I think, they'll find somebody else to step in there, and away they'll go. And, I don't expect this team to miss a beat either.
They might go 13-3 instead of 14-2, Chris.
Indeed. One more, Bob. as I'm sure you saw, Matthew Stafford signed a new 5-year contract worth $135 million or $27 million a year, making him the latest highest paid player in the game. The new top 5, oh, by the way, are Stafford at the top, Derek Carr is 2, Andrew Luck is 3, Carson Palmer is 4, and Drew Brees is 5. And everyone among the top 15 highest paid players in the league are all quarterbacks, and they're all making over $20 million a year. And oh, by the way, Tom Brady is 15th on the list. So of the top 15 and all being quarterbacks, Brady's 15th. Stafford was having, an MVP-like season last year, Bob, and Detroit was certainly looking like they were going to be on their way to winning the NFC Central until he hurt his middle finger on his throwing hand, tried to play through it, but they ended up losing their last 4 regular season games and in the wild card game to Seattle. But, to me, that likely highlights exactly how valuable a healthy Matthew Stafford is to the Lions. So, Bob, what's your take on the Lions extending Matthew Stafford? Is he worth $27 million a year?
It's incredible, Chris, when you think of the numbers. He will be making between $25 and $30 million a year if you average this next year, and then plus the new deal into it all. It is insane money, but here's the deal, Chris. I mean, the quarterback position in the NFL, if you're a better than average quarterback in this league, you're going to get paid. It doesn't matter, Chris. It's just that's the way it's been going, and this is agent driven. That's all it is the agents doing business, Chris. They just go down the line and they bring up at these contract negotiation meetings that basically quarterbacks are getting 15% of the salary cap these days. And again, if you're a better than average quarterback, which Stafford is, you're going to get money. And it's just when his time is up, that's what happens. And I think it all goes back to your guy there, Joe Flacco. When he signed that, people are saying, wow, he was an average to better quarterback at the time, and it was his turn. But and who's next? People are saying maybe Kirk Cousins. I don't know who's next, Chris. But that kind of money for a guy, and for those people that think he's just a decent quarterback, there's some telling things out there. He started 99 games in a row, Chris. That's pretty impressive in this league. And I also found out he had a plus 81 touchdown to interception differential. That's pretty good when you consider a guy like Eli Manning was plus 62. So that's incredible. And he's one of those guys, and one last stat to throw your way, one of 2 NFL quarterbacks to throw for at least 4,200 yards every year for the past 6 seasons. So you bring these things up, Chris, at a negotiation meeting, plus the fact that that's what quarterbacks are getting these days. That's why he's got the money. We can't look at the numbers anymore. It's just a matter of whose turn it is.
Well, there you go. Couldn't have said it better. Great stats there. You threw in there too, Bob. Good job out of you tonight. All right, that's Bob's take for this week, folks. TNT, we are sponsored by Kyvan Foods. NFL star Reggie Kelly brings the authentic flavor of traditional Southern cooking to market with his Kyvan Foods products. Made with the finest ingredients, Kyvan Foods invites you to appreciate the goodness of the exceptional flavors of their sauces, apple butter, and other fine products as well. Make Kyvan items a part of your tailgating spread, either at the game or at home gating with family and friends. The taste is unbelievable, available through Walmart.com and at select Kroger stores, or you can order online through Amazon or the Kyvan website itself at Kyvan82.com. And Kyvan is spelled Kyvan. Baseball season, right? We're turning towards the postseason, and if you love the game, you have got to go check out the Louisville Slugger Museum and Factory. They were inducted into the TripAdvisor Certificate of Excellence Hall of Fame. The museum, it's a very cool experience, folks, for everybody in your family, because you get to go in there and walk their live production line and see some of the 1.8 million bats that they make every year, and they've been doing it now for 132 years. You hear me bragging about the Bat Vault every week here on Thursday Night Tailgate, because you get to go in there and hold actual game-used bats from some of the game's greatest legends, people like Babe Ruth and Hank Aaron and Ted Williams, my hero growing up, Willie Stargell. To find out more information about the museum and to book your visit, go to sluggermuseum.com. And we're also proud to be sponsored by our good friend and TNT Hall of Famer Randy Minier and the great folks up at the Salt Creek Golf Retreat in Nashville, Indiana, which, oh, by the way, was voted one of the top 20 small towns in the country by Smithsonian Magazine. Let's hear a word from our announcer, Joe Lajanusa, about how great a place the Salt Creek Golf Retreat really is.
If you're looking for a great place for your annual golf outing, a weekend golf getaway, or just a round of golf with your buddies, then Salt Creek Golf Retreat is just what you're looking for. Centrally located in Nashville, Indiana, just south of Indianapolis and west of Cincinnati. This challenging but fair 18-hole golf course appeals to all skill levels, and its scenic views of rolling hills and tree-lined fairways are sure to make golfing memories for years to come. Owned and operated by former Purdue and New York Giants fullback Randy Manier, Salt Creek Golf Retreat offers stay-and-play packages that include golf and a fully furnished 1- or 2-bedroom condo. After your rounds, be sure to stop by the 19th Hole Sports Bar and Restaurant for great food, fun, and drinks. Randy and his staff will treat you like family. For more information, log on to saltcreekgolf.com. That's saltcreekgolf.com. Or give them a call at 812-558-5944. Salt Creek Golf Retreat. Start making your golfing memories today.
Yeah, we can't say enough great things about the golf course, the condos, and of course Randy and his staff as well. They're all fantastic up there. Go online to saltcreekgolf.com to see for yourself how wonderful a place it really is. All right, now back with us on the Kyvan Foods guest line is our first guest of the night, and that is Mike Jones. Let me remind you about Mike's background. He's from Kansas City, played his ball at the University of Missouri, where he was a two-way player playing both running back and linebacker. Set a school record for rushing yards in one quarter. Had 104 yards in one quarter alone. He also set the all-time record for receptions in a season and a career with 41 and 72 respectively. He was an undrafted free agent signed by the then Los Angeles Raiders, played in the league from 91 to 2002 with the Raiders, Rams, and Steelers, and he will forever remain near and dear to the hearts of Rams fans for making the game-saving tackle in Super Bowl 35. Over the course of his playing career, he had 599 tackles, had 9 sacks, 8 interceptions, and he scored 2 touchdowns. He was inducted into the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame in 2012, and we're excited that he is back with us again here tonight on Thursday Night Tailgate. Hey, Mike, Chris and Bob here. Thanks for coming back on the show.
Hi, Mike.
Hey, guys, how you doing? I need to let you guys do that introduction again. That was pretty good.
Absolutely.
Pretty good
keep coming back on. We'll keep doing it.
There you go. All right.
So, Mike, that one play in the Super Bowl, one tackle, one play, and now, you're going to be remembered, forever, not only by Rams fans, but, football fans in general. What's that like? What does that feel like to know that, you made a play that is going to stick with football fans, for eternity?
Well, you know what? It's getting to the point now where I'm getting made fun of, and I'll tell you how. I'm coaching high school football now, so this is the first year I got back in high school football. So we did something that we do at the collegiate level and NFL level. We have a talent show, and we tell them that you can mess with anyone, including the coaches. So we had a Q&A, and then it was I think it was a picture of someone. And the statement said, the guy played 12 years, but was only known from one play. So the kids make fun of me about this. I made one play my entire career, 12 years. So, they have fun with it. But, it's funny. You go from, you think you do something real well in the Super Bowl to where now your kids, you're coaching, making fun of it.
So, Mike, as I mentioned in your intro, you were a two-way player at Missouri, running back, linebacker. How close was that moment to never happening? Because, you had a successful, running back career at Missouri. Right. You rushed for nearly 1,400 yards, almost 5 yards a carry. You had another 700 yards almost, receiving. Talk about, the switch from running back to linebacker and why it happened.
Well, you know what? I don't know where I never played linebacker in college. That's the crazy thing. Everyone keeps saying, you're the two-way player. No, I wasn't a two-way player. It was every year. We had a coaching change after my second year. So my first year, they didn't know where they were going to play me at. And I ended up starting as a freshman as a fullback. I started about 3 games, and then my sophomore year they switched me to tailback. We were running a wishbone. So, and then during that time they talked about moving me to linebacker. So then we have a coaching change, and during the coaching change, and this how smarter coaches they were, college coaches. Andy Reid was my offensive line coach. Dirk Cutter was my offensive coordinator. And then we had Marty Moneywick, who was our graduate assistant. So all those guys were on one staff at the University of Missouri. And so I played running back for all those guys. And so when I get done after my sophomore year, my junior year, I'm seriously thinking about playing linebacker. So they definitely had running back, but I didn't really do anything in my junior year. So we were running a 2-back set, and maybe switched to a 1-back set. And I talked to the running back coach, and he was saying, we're going to do some things that highlight what you do. So kind of weird because my best friend now, he was a fullback and I was a tailback, and we ended up being, he ended up being the second string guy and I was the first string guy. And so I played the rest of the year. I did pretty good. I thought I was a pretty good running back, and the NFL didn't think I was very good, so I didn't get drafted. Not only did I not get drafted, the team I went to decided to switch me to linebacker. But that was something that was probably going to happen. If I would have been a fifth-year senior, I would have probably been a linebacker. But I didn't stay 5 years. I was only there 4 years, and I played running back all 4 years. Never played on the defensive side, not one snap. So there's something. Someone started something where I played 2 ways, but that's really not true.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And Mike, you played 6 seasons, for the Raiders in the early to mid '90s when they were in LA. So you were there in LA. When there was a lot of social unrest around the city. We had a lot of racial issues going on at that time. The rap scene was starting to explode. The OJ trial, comes up, and that's going on. And the Raiders and the Raider image were sort of brought into that scene a lot. What was it like being a Raider in LA during that time?
Well, you know what? It was good to be a Raider. And what I mean by that, when we played the Coliseum, we walk out of the Coliseum and, like you said, it was the beginning of it was right when the NWA was doing well. All the rap scene was coming on, the LA rap scene was coming on. So you would walk out and literally Magic Johnson would be in the tunnel because that was his spot. And then you might see Ice Cube or Easy or any of those guys in the tunnel as you walk out into the field, and at that time I was 22, 23 years old. So these guys were in their mid 20s, and you see all these guys that were emerging in their industry. And then you see, of course, it's the LA scene. So when the Raiders are doing well, you can see anyone on the sideline, but just like it is now, if you don't do well in any sport, they're not that they're not going to support you. The fan base just has so many different things to do that they're going to do something else. So, when you're playing well, it was outstanding to be a Raider. When you weren't playing well, it was tough.
Bob, questions from Mike?
Great to speak with you again, Mike. And your 6 years as a Raider, I was looking at some of those teams, and what strikes me, Mike, is that I think there was 5 defensive coordinators during your time there. That's a lot for a young guy. You start with Dave Adolph and Gunther Cunningham. John Fox was one of them. Yeah. Was that tough on a young player, Mike, or was it a pretty decent flow and transition from one to the other?
Well, you know what? It was the toughest part wasn't switching coordinators because the Raiders play a certain style of defense when I was there. You can bring in whatever coordinator you want. You're going to run a 4-man front. You're going to have a guy, one of your rush-ins, or if you want to be a 3-man front, one of your guys, I guess they used to call him an elephant or the outside rusher. You're always going to have a speed outside rusher. You're going to have corners that can run and cover. You're going to be in man-to-man coverage. You're going to have big safeties that run up and hit real hard. So, the philosophy of the Raiders didn't change whether it was whoever the coordinator was. I had some good ones. Dave Adolph was probably one of the smartest defensive guys you'll meet. He was just technique savvy. Gunther Cunningham was, he would believe in a lot of pressure. He always came up with very exotic pressures. Foxy was and we call him Foxy, John Fox. John was a little bit of both. John believed, you bring pressure when you had to, but he wanted to get you with 4 guys. And, he liked playing zone. So those guys were a little different, but, Mr. Davis believed in a certain thing. So you may have a certain philosophy, but once you became a Raider as a defensive guy, you did certain things the way he wanted to do it, or you wouldn't be there.
What also struck me about your career, Mike, is that you rarely missed any games, especially in as a Raider. You just and in St. Louis, you just didn't miss games. Was that a combination of having the ability to play hurt? Was it that you were in really good shape, or was it just a combination of both?
It was a combination of a lot of things. I tell you what, the guy that really helped me more than anyone, Gunther was was a great coach for me. Gunther was the first guy I had for 2 years. But the guy that really that helped me learn how to play linebacker was Jim Haslett. Haslett was my defensive coordinator. I played in the World League one spring. And then I played, then he was hired and I played for him for 2 years in 93 and 94. And he did something when I was in the World League that to this day, I'd sit down and talk to my young guys, at the collegiate level more than the high school. And, I hurt my knee. And I'm telling you, it's so funny because Bill Goldberg, the wrestler, was my defensive tackle. So, Bill threw a guy into my knee. He took on a guy and he got rid of him and that hurt my knee. So I was out for about 3 weeks. And when I come back, I'm the signal caller. So I come back and Jim, I'm thinking he's going to play me about, 6 or 7 plays, just get me back in the groove of it. So we played, I played the first series. We get about, I think it was a 4-and-out. And then we have a long drive for about 10 plays. So I'm a little gassed because I haven't played. So I'm looking at him, tapping my head, and he waving me off and giving me the signal. So I said, okay. So then the next time, after the play's over with, I hop up and I'm about to run off the field. He's like, whoa. I need you to call the play. So he pushed me back in. So I go back in. So now I'm thinking, okay, now this guy's, I don't know what he's trying to do, but now I'm getting upset. So I play the rest of the series. I walk over to the sideline. I walk over and walk right by him. Don't say anything. So he comes over and he stands in front of me as he's talking to the defense. So he stands in front of me. He tells the defense what we're going to do. And then he says, okay, guys, you can break up. And he stands in front of me so I can't leave. So then after everyone walks away, he said, you know why I left in the game? I said, no. He said, in order for you to play a long time in the NFL, you have to know how to play with pain. If you can't play with pain, you won't play very long. And he walked away. And I just kind of sat there and thought about what he said, and it is true. You're going to have, this game is a physical game. You're going to get nicks, you're going to get banged up a little bit, but it's the guys that, can handle how to handle the pain, how to, keep yourself in great shape, how to make sure you are doing the rehab you need to and keep your body in good shape and all those different things. And you got to have some luck as well. So it's a lot of different things, but you most definitely got to be tough. You most definitely got to be in shape. And sometimes you have to play with pain.
Mike, that 1999 season was obviously a great year, for you and the Rams. You guys won your first 6 games that season. You really were blowing teams out. You won by an average, margin of 26 points, and then you lose 2 in a row. Did the team start to become a little too overconfident at that point, and maybe lose focus a little bit, and needed something like those 2 losses to kind of get jolted back to reality?
Well, you know what? It were 2 totally different games. The 2 games we lost, Tennessee, of course, was a very good team because they went to the Super Bowl, and they jumped out on us. I mean, they came off a bye week, and those guys, when the game started, you knew that the atmosphere was electric. I mean, I can still remember to this day. I mean, they're running through the tunnel, jumping up and down. I mean, it was as if it was a playoff game, and we weren't, we just weren't ready for that yet. We had played everyone we had played. We had beat the 49ers who we hadn't beat in 16 tries. The team that really used to pound us was the Atlanta Falcons, and we got after them. We beat Ray Lewis in the opener with Baltimore. So we had about 6 games in which we felt confident about stuff, and maybe we did have a little too much confidence. And it humbled us, as a team. When we lost 24-21, we came roaring back, and then we go to Detroit, and in Detroit, we going back and forth with them. And, we weren't, it wasn't a pretty game, but it was one of them ugly games that you needed to win. And we ended up losing at the end of the game on I believe it was a 4th quarter, last drive, 2-minute drive. And we had stopped everyone in 2-minute drives that entire season except them. So, it was eye-opening, but, we were 6-2. We still were sitting fine. And then we bounced back and played Carolina, and I think we won 7 games in a row. And then our last game of the season, we're up and we decide, we pull the guys, they beat us. But those 2 games were good for us, and it's never a good win but it was a good learning experience because we had two totally different type of games. One, we were getting blown out, and we came roaring back and won, almost win the game. And then the second one was we were in a dog fight. And then at the end of the half, end of the game, you know, they beat us on a 2-man drive. So, you know, those are two good learning experiences for us. But, you know, we wish we didn't lose them, but they were great learning experiences.
Mike, one more before we let you go. And I'm from Pittsburgh. I'm a big Steelers fan. And you spent a season and a half there. And we hear so many people talk about the Rooney family and what it's like playing for them. Was the culture on the Steelers, was that different than any of the experiences you had playing in LA with the Raiders or in St. Louis with the Rams?
You know what? It was different in a sense. Al Davis was so involved with the team, and so was the Rooney family. The Rooney family, the difference between Al and the Rooney family is Mr. Rooney would be up, you know, he wouldn't come on the field in practice, but you would see him up watching us because, you know, he had his offices. He walked out and watched us practice, you know, and he was a pilot. So, you know, you would see him fly over the practice facility, and everyone was like, well, there goes Mr. Rooney, you know, coming back from wherever he's going. So, you know, he was involved with the team, but he was kind of involved but a hands-off guy. But, you know, he was always around. And, I mean, and the family was phenomenal. And the best example of Mr. Rooney, I would say, is this. When I came back to the team mid-season, and they signed me, and I'm thinking I'm only going to play a couple of plays, and the guy I played behind ended up getting hurt like the second play of this game. So I played every snap on defense and all the special teams. So I'm the signal caller, and we ended up winning the game. You know, and I was forcing up. I think I forced a fumble. We got the ball, and we scored and win the game. So I got the game ball. So after the game's over with, Mr. Rooney walks up to my locker. He's like, Mike, he said, I know you weren't in training camp. I was like, that's true. He said, were you calling the signals? And I'm looking at him like, how in the world do you know I was calling the signals? I was like, yeah, I was calling the signals. He said, how did you know the signals that fast? I said, most of them I just remembered. And he just kind of looked at me. And I didn't catch what he was saying. And then he walked away, he just smiled, said, okay, good job. Then Coach Char comes over. He said, Mike, now I know you was in there calling signals. He said, but I know they gave you some signals that you didn't. They weren't the calls that you called that we gave you. I said, Coach, if you gave me a signal and I couldn't see it, I just called what I thought we'd play. And he started laughing and he walked away. But no, that's Mr. Rooney. He knew what we were doing. You know, he was involved so much, but he always was hands off. And just a great family. You know, it's a great atmosphere. It's kind of like the Cardinals in St. Louis. The Steelers are very much like that. Everyone that goes plays for the Steelers, you have nothing but great things to say about the city and the organization.
Mike, before we let you go, let our listeners know what you're doing now and how they can stay up to date with you, whether it's following you online or over social media.
Well, I'm the head coach of St. Louis University High School. Our institution has been, this is our bicentennial year. We're celebrating 200 years, beginning July 1st, and we'll go 18 months. We were founded in 1818. And we've been playing football for over 100 years. This is our 101st year playing football. So I'm in a program in which, you know, the last two coaches have coached a total of 59 years. So, I mean, it's very stable here. We're trying to rebuild our program. You know, we're in the process of rebuilding it. You know, got a lot of great young men. And, you know, you can always check us out at SLU.org. We are web-based, so you can check out our games. Our games are web-based, so you can see them. See us play every Friday night. We play at 7 o'clock every Friday night. So, you know, tune in, check us out, and support the Junior Billies.
There you go. Mike, thank you so much for taking time out of your night to come back and be a part of the show. We always like, you know, getting to spend some time with you. We hope you'll come back a little bit later on in the season and share more of your thoughts and your insights with us because you're fantastic.
Absolutely. You know, just guys, anytime you want me to come on, I'm available for you.
Good luck with that team.
I appreciate that, Mike.
All right, thank you.
Take care, Mike. All the best to you and your family.
Okay, bye-bye.
Good night.
That is former Raiders and Rams linebacker Mike Jones. We've got our next guest, Tony Collins, hanging on the line. We'll get to Tony right after this little message about our friends over at Kyvan Foods.
This is Reggie Kelly, former Cincinnati Bengals and Atlanta Falcon tight end, and I'm the owner of Kyvan Foods. And if you enjoy delicious food, you're going to love my Kyvan products, which consist of our honey apple salsa, sweet barbecue sauce, and an array of seasonings. For store locations online orders and recipes, check out our website at www.kyvan82.com. That's KYVAN 82.com. One taste, and you'll appreciate the goodness.
And now back with us on the Kyvan Foods guest line in his regular weekly time slot is former Patriots Pro Bowl running back Tony Collins. Hey, Tony, how are you tonight?
Hi, Tony.
Doing fantastic. How you doing, Chris and Bob?
Really good,
Excellent.
Tony. So, Tony, I wanted to start our time with you tonight by getting your memories, from this time of year. We have, just a couple of days left in the exhibition season, and then, we'll start the preparation for week one and for, some rookies and some of the older veterans. This is typically a time that you fear the Turk, right? The dreaded, knock on the door and then the person saying, Coach wants to see you. How nerve-wracking is the last week or the last weekend of the exhibition season, knowing that final rosters are right around the corner?
It can be very nerve-wracking if you don't know what your position is on the team. I remember my rookie season. I was drafted in the second round, and so I pretty much thought I was going to make the team. But most of the people pulled me aside. He says, don't get too close to some of the other rookies because they might not be here. They might not be here a little later on. And so one of the things that it's tough. It was tough for me is the rookie guys that were coming in, that came in with me. You become friends with them because you're with the rookies most of the times, and they're pulling stunts on all the rookies. They make us sing and everything. So you get together with those guys, and when you see one of those guys leave, and you don't really know what to say, man. Just good luck, and hopefully he'll catch on with another team. But it was that part of the game, or that part of the business was tough because you guys will come and go, and you become friends with some of the guys, and you don't know if they're going to be there that following week or the next week, and that part of the game is kind of tough.
And Tony, how does everyone find out about the final roster? Is it as simple as if no one asks to see you, you're in, or do they get everybody together and say, okay, look around the room, this is the 53 guys? How do you guys know when the 53-man roster is finalized?
Well, a lot of times, in the beginning of the training camp, maybe a week or two that goes by, they'll send the turf guy to your room early that morning or late that afternoon. Usually it's early in the morning, and they'll knock on your door, and they'll knock on that door. You hear that knock, and they'll say, Coach wants to see you and bring your playbook. That's the worst. Those are the worst words you want to hear, is bring your playbook. When they tell you to bring your playbook, man, that's when you know that it's all over. Or the coach wants to see you. If the coach wants to see you without the playbook, you're okay. But if the coach wants to see you with the playbook, then that's how they did it back then with us. I don't know how they're doing it now, but it was a random thing that they would call you come to your door, knock on your door early that morning, and I've seen a lot of guys go that way.
Bob, questions for Tony?
Tony, we talked to Mike Jones earlier about playing with pain in the NFL, and he basically said the guys that are able to do it are pretty much that distinguishes the successful ones from the normal players out there. Just wondering, Tony, do you remember certain times of your career or certain games where you were banged up more than others, but still were able to go out there and perform pretty well?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I had shoulder, bruises, but probably the worst thing that I had was cracked ribs one time, and I was playing with cracked ribs, and I was playing with I would get the cortisone shots before the game, and I would get the shots at halftime. Then after the game is over, when the cortisone wears off, man, I'm in so much pain I can hardly breathe. I don't know if you guys ever had cracked ribs before. You can't sneeze, you can't cough. It's the worst feeling in the world, and you can't go to sleep. And so, I was probably stupid to play with it. I should have sat down, but I didn't sit down. And but that was actually into my book. It's one of my downfalls, because I started that. I think it was my third year in the league. Playing with those cracked ribs throughout the season because they didn't get better. Because when I went to the game and I got hit on them, I didn't feel it because my whole side was numb. And so after the game, the pain was just tremendous. And that's when I started, taking pain pills, and I got addicted to pain pills because of that. And you can play hurt. And that's some of the things he was probably talking about. Playing hurt is playing with pain, but playing injured, you got to understand having cracked ribs and going out there taking painkillers and going out there getting shots in your side before the game. That's not very smart. But playing hurt is playing with a shoulder, playing with maybe a broke finger, playing with a headache. I did that millions of times. But you got to understand, there's a thin line, and you can play with pain, but you can't play injured. And the coaches know the guys that can play with pain. There's some guys that couldn't play with pain. They couldn't play with pain very well, and so they know those type of guys, and some of those guys will sit. And but us being warriors like we think we are, we think anything that if we can walk. Oh, we can run, we can play, and that was my attitude too. Maybe it was a wrong attitude, but that was my attitude as I went into the league. That nothing was going to stop me from playing as long as I could run. But you just got to understand, you can play with pain, but you can't play with an injury. If you have an injury, you need to sit down, you need to rest, and then let somebody else get out there and play, because playing with pain and playing injured is two different things.
I always like to bring up some of your old teammates, as the people here in New England love to hear about it too. Tony, I was doing a little research on those teams in the 80s, and the tight end on one of those teams, Tony, I think he spent 2 years there, was Derek Ramsey, and especially in 1984, I believe, had about 66 receptions for almost 800 yards, Tony, and he's very underrated, and I think he was in the league for about 10 years, but only a couple years in New England. What are your memories of Derek Ramsey?
Derek Ramsey was a great athlete, man. He could have easily been a running back or a fullback, but he got bigger, and he turned him into a tight end, and Derek was just a great athlete. I thought he was, super athlete. He had all the skills of a tight end. It could run, run very, very well. He was very underrated. I thought. I think the thing that kind of hurt Derek was, for him switching to the different teams. I don't know how. I know he played on a few teams. But I just think that might have hurt him a little bit, not being established at one team for a long time. But Derek was a super, super athlete, amazing athlete, I thought, for the tight end position.
Tony, before we let you go, remind our listeners once again about the great things you're doing helping kids go to college.
TonyCollinsFoundation.com, TonyCollinsSpeaks.com. Go to the website. We're helping athletes, we're helping non-athletes, anybody that wants to go off to college and has a 2.8 grade point average, can meet the criteria. We're doing a lot of good work, and this year we're looking to do bigger and better things. So go to those websites, make a donation, get a book, and every book that we sell helps a kid to go off to college.
There you go. Tony, thank you again for your time this week. We look forward to catching up with you next week. Next week now, we're going to kick off the 5-star picks of the week, so get ready. Week one, man. Right around the corner.
I can't wait, man. I can't wait. I can't wait.
All right, take care, Tony. All the best to you and your family, my friend.
All right, guys.
See you later, Tony.
See you, Tony.
Bye.
That's former Patriots Pro Bowl running back Tony Collins. We've got our next guest, Reuben Davis, hanging on the line. We're going to get to Reuben right on the other side of this quick station break.
This is Reggie Kelly, former Cincinnati Bengals and Atlanta Falcons tight end, and you're listening to TNT, Thursday Night Tailgate. Brace yourself for the explosion.
And now joining us on the Kyvan Foods guest line is Reuben Davis. Let me give you some background on Reuben. He's from Greensboro, North Carolina. At Grimsley High School, he was named All-State Defensive Lineman. Reuben also excelled in track, winning the state discus title in 1983. Played his college ball at the University of North Carolina, where he was named All-ACC in his junior season. He was a ninth-round draft pick by the Tampa Bay Bucs in 1988, and the Bucs website recently named him, oh, by the way, one of their top 10 all-time draft steals. Played in the NFL from 88 to 1996 for the Bucs, Cardinals, and Chargers. He was a member of the Chargers Super Bowl team in 1994, and we are honored to have him with us tonight here on Thursday Night Tailgate. Hey, Reuben, Chris, and Bob here. Thanks for coming on the show.
Welcome.
How you guys doing tonight? Hope everything is clear. You can hear me good, and it's great to be on, man. Yeah,
I appreciate that.
Listening.
So,
to Tony
Reuben,
right there.
I want to start by going back to your time at the University of North Carolina. As a kid who grew up in Greensboro, which is about an hour west of Chapel Hill, was there any doubt that you were going to be a Tar Heel, or were there other schools that were recruiting you that you thought you might go to?
Yeah, I was actually being recruited pretty heavily, but I had done several summer camps at Carolina. And I had got comfortable with the campus, and one of the things growing up back then was that color, and it's actually still a big part of what helps recruit a lot of kids to Carolina. Is there's something about that sweet Carolina blue. So I was already bought around about the 7th, 8th grade, just off of the uniforms and everything, and then going, by it being so close, actually going down to the games with friends and everything, and it didn't hurt to be watching a player like Lawrence Taylor on the field. So my motivation and desire and dream to be there was just, the foundation was just being laid.
And it's interesting that you mentioned Lawrence Taylor, Reuben, because, obviously he played his ball there at Carolina. Did he ever come back and talk to you guys, whether it was from a motivational standpoint or, coaching from a, techniques or, provide pointers to you guys? Was he around?
Actually, he was. I mean, he gets a little bad rap, but yeah, he actually came back. He actually, I got a chance to meet him in the summer, one of the summer camps, and he had come back as a staff member, and he was a great period. I mean, he was real good with kids, and he just got a bad rap for just being a bad guy, but he actually did. He actually recently, a couple of years ago, came back. And talked to the team before they went out to play. I can't actually remember the game. I think it was like a homecoming game and everything. So, I mean, he puts a little time in on the hill. He comes back, sneaks in and plays a little golf, and stuff like that. He's a great person. I mean, it just, to me, is like, one of the greatest NFL players ever. And then also to come from Carolina, then myself come from there to be able to, recognize that he totes that title, and coming from a university right now that we don't have that national championship above us, but we're a university that has put out a lot of great athletes, is something to be proud of.
And Reuben, most sports fans know how intense the North Carolina and Duke rivalry is on the basketball court. But is it just as intense on the football field as well?
Yeah, because it's so close. You got guys we running in and out of the barbershop, local and around in the different venues, so we see each other and everything. I'm great friends with a lot of former Duke players that I'm actually living back in Chapel Hill. I'm back on the Hill now, and so I see guys that played during my era, and we still got to poking other fingers, talking junk, and we look forward to both seasons. And football is just as competitive as the basketball. I mean, we don't get the notoriety with what they call the Tobacco Road Battle, but we have the exchanging of the bail and everything. So that gets stolen or whatever during the year, repainted and everything. And so we try to hold it. Right now we have it over. It's on the Hill right now. So hopefully we can keep that going. But yeah, it's a tremendous rivalry. There's been a lot of different documentaries done within the last 3 or 4 years. Been done on the basketball side and the football side. So
it's something to keep the juices flowing for the locals that we look forward every year outside of our other rivalries that, but I think Duke and Carolina is probably the most intense rivalry that probably on the Southeastern board that you can come across.
Bob, questions for Reuben?
Reuben, it's great to speak with you. Thanks for joining us tonight. And Chris had mentioned about being such a steal in that 88 draft. I wanted to get your thoughts and your expectations during that draft. And what was that whole day like, and, well, a couple of days like, as far as waiting for your name to be called, Reuben?
Well, I'm gonna try to get the short version of that. That's a pretty long one there, Bob. But the way that went was, I actually was, I didn't have the best combine, so I really wasn't expecting to go. I had been slated early in my career to be in the top 3. A lot of people don't know that I actually broke my neck going into my redshirt sophomore year. I cracked vertebrae C7, and so it happened in the spring ball, and I was able to actually, sit down with the doctors and my parents and made the decision that I wanted to play football. And the doctors, told me everything I needed to do. At that time, I was about a size 15 neck. So, I needed to get into the weight room. So I hit the weight room. I didn't have to end up getting surgery. It fused itself back together, but I basically transformed my body from about 269 pounds, bumping up to about 290, 22-inch neck. So that was the start from there. And then, the next thing was, I just ended up having 2 great years to finish up. It showed that, I could go back out on the field and play, that I had the, desire. I wasn't nervous about it. I had put it behind me. I didn't have any more worries. I did, wear some special equipment. For a while back then, they had what they call a Texas neck collar, so I wore that and actually brought those shoulder pads with me when I came to Tampa. So draft day, I was in class with probably one of the ended up being one of the most famous broadcasters, just like you guys, was taking a final exam with Stuart Scott. And I'll never forget that. And somebody came to the room. I can't remember who it was. They sent somebody up from the field office and they said, hey, you got a call that it's very important that you need to come to the football office. So back then, just show you how technology was. There was no cell phone. So the kid had to run all the way across campus to get me. I left class and everything and come down. And then I found out that I had been drafted in the 9th round by the Bucs. I went silent because just the fact that I was already pretty much prepared because we had a lot of agents on campus at that time that were signing guys as free agents. So I was prepared when I got back. I got out of my final exam. I was just going to go up and sit down and interview a couple of agents and then look at the free agent market. So I ended up going in the 9th round. I was on the phone at that time with Wade Perkins and Coach Mike DeBose, all from Alabama. And, they was very excited about getting me as part of the draft. They had said they was going to do earlier, but it seemed like, they, was able to keep pushing down and get some other players. One of them things where I told the coaches, I'm excited. It doesn't matter where I'm drafted. I'm coming to make the team. I end up getting there. I met, guys like Robert Goff from Auburn, Lars Tate from Georgia, and, we just all got together, Kerry Gould from Alabama, and it was just an awesome draft class. I felt like, the camaraderie was just awesome when I arrived to Tampa. And I just remember standing out there one day on the field. I've actually lost this teammate in the recent years due to death, Sean Lee, and we were standing there and we looked out. And I told him, I said, man, when I got on the plane, my mom told me, this is your job after college, and you got to go down there and do your best. I don't want to see you back here. We get ready to change your room and everything. So I was like, okay, so that's already been taken. So I'm already being kicked out the house. So I got to go down here and make this team, get this job, and do what I got to do to start my career. And so that was a little bit of motivation. And then when I got there, just, the city of Tampa was just awesome. I actually had never really been in Tampa as far as just, a vacation and travel like that. And it just to get down there and get involved, and then also being, part of the team and NFL team for the first time coming out of college. It was like just a whole nother level of world starting, so to speak. Never had been anywhere without my mom and dad, hadn't traveled, so I was, a little homesick, but that went away pretty quick when I got with the guys and the camaraderie of the recruiting class that we had and everything. And I just remember standing out on the field one day, just looking at where I was at, and I remember telling Sean and we called the big man Robert Goff that, man, you got to love this, the opportunity that we got. I'm going to take full advantage of it. And I did. I ended up actually getting to start about the second or third game. And I put in a tremendous off-season workout program and worked myself into the starting lineup about the second night. I think it was against Philadelphia that I broke in that year in '88. And I never looked back. And I just kept that same demeanor throughout my career, and I ended up with 11 years. And I guess some of it, I guess you can say being in the right place at the right time. Some of it's luck, but a lot of it was just, my dedication, because I knew what I had been through by the fact that I cracked my neck, and was blessed to even be still able to walk out on the field. I mean, I was a hair fracture away from being in a wheelchair. I owe a lot to the UNC staff, and I'm actually still friends and got friends with a lot of those guys on Facebook now and everything. And we had a moment actually about a couple of months ago. Skip Hunter is his name. He was the head equipment guy at that time, and so I owe a lot of my success, my life from college to Skip. And I hate to get a little emotional with it, but it's just like that. I mean, I'm either in a wheelchair or I'm playing football. And so, as you know, I ended up with 11 years. And so, yeah, I've taken advantage of pretty much every opportunity in front of me. And that's what motivates me every day, to know the direction from where I came. And I always look to where I'm going now. It helps me where I want to go now.
And Reuben, you played both end and tackle at a very high level. Did you have a preference, and was there any different approach when you were going to play either position in a game?
Well, it was funny because I had always played like a 3-technique defensive end. I played a little bit of nose guard at college, but when I got to Tampa, it was all due to my weight. So Tampa, Ray was real strict about guys being lean, fast, and mean. So, I actually trimmed back down, so I was about like 6'4", 269, right at 270. So I preferred actually that 3-technique and the defensive end. So then I was traded to Arizona. When I got to Arizona, Joe Bridle, who's coming from he's the offensive line coach, and then moved to the head coach at Arizona, had coached the Hogs up there. And so he was used to big guys. And so when I got there, you had guys like Mike Jones, Eric Swan, Keith Ruck, and those boys. And I walked in, and I thought I was in the offensive line room. And these guys are 330, 335, 350, 360, and even a couple 380s up in there. And I walked in, I'm under 300, and they was like, who is he? What is he going to do? So I had to beef up, so I ended up putting weight back on, and that was sort of the transformation for me on my second half of my career. So I beefed up to about 330. But I actually I like the middle because, you could control your own destiny, see things quicker. There was a lot more action in the middle. Defensive end, you really just got to you become a sack king out there. And, I knew that I wasn't one of those guys that had been blessed with, that tremendous pass rush and the speed. I like just a little bit of that, but my strength was stopping the run. I just been blessed with great hands and great feet. And the way my body is, I have a long torso, but and short legs, so I'm sort of built for that position as a nose guard. So I just adapted to that, and I finished up my career just enjoying playing that nose guard. So if I had to say, I really enjoy being in the middle, and actually been breathing right down, the center's neck. And I know like you said, and that's what actually got me on here messing with Bubba Grimes, and we used to go at it pretty hard and everything. And he schooled me as a rookie and everything. So I learned a lot from Bubba, and I just carried it on. It was just great having somebody like that to go against every day, and it it helped me out throughout my career.
Yeah, and, Reuben, you're right. We were blessed to have Randy, on the show with us last week, and not only were you teammates with Randy, but you got to go up against him every day at practice, and then you faced each other some as well. What was it like going up against Randy?
Well, the thing about Randy, he was God Almighty. I don't know. Basically, I just got to give him that word that he's a beast. At that time, and I know he was a few years older than me, and so I would imagine now I probably could whip him pretty good right now. But back in the day, I mean, this guy had arms like like Hulk Hogan. I mean, he just he was a monster. We went at it, and it was like almost like hitting like a Mack truck brick wall every day. And I appreciated that, putting the toughness in me. And he gave me a lot of knowledge on how to do my hands and my stance and, being prepared, as far as just a nose guard. Cause of course he faced a lot of, some of the greats in the game, himself, Cortez Kennedy and those guys. And he held his own, and everything. So, to go against him and be able to practice against him, every day, it couldn't do nothing but help and improve me and Sean. Yeah.
And Reuben, kind of going back to your second season in the league, 1989, you had a huge game in Week 11 of that season against the Bears up in Chicago. A couple of sacks. You had a pick six in that game. Take us through your memories of what that game was like.
And actually, that comes up quite a bit. I do remember that. Big Ron Holmes come off the end, and he hit the quarterback from the blind side. I'm trying to remember. Was that? Yeah, I think it was my man, wasn't it? And ball shot up in the air, come down in my hands, and I was just happened to be going the right direction, and it felt like the longest yard run in my life, but it was only 13 yards, but it felt like I had went about 300 yards. And I was completely out of breath, so excited that I actually had to get oxygen when I got to the sideline. The guys were just all on top of me, just pounding me. So, it took me a minute to get my breath because I was at the bottom of the pile. And that was like a coming out party for me. That put a lot more confidence in me, and everything. And I look back on it, we laugh a lot. As far as the guys that remember that play that I played with, we talk about that play a lot. And I didn't even get a touchdown in college. So yeah, it was incredible. I would never forget that. That was awesome. I knew my phone was ringing off the hook, when I got home. And again, we still hadn't got into the cell phone era, so you couldn't get calls till you got back home, and everything. It's so funny to be thinking like that. And that's just stuff, it's just like how time has changed. I mean, I'm actually sitting there talking to you guys on a cell phone, but, back in the day, you was always had to wait till you got back home, or went by the office or over to One Buck place and did an interview or stuff like that. So times have changed. But yeah, that weekend, man, that game, it's in the books with a lot of the guys. You may remember Odie Harris. I'm friends with him, and Facebook has actually opened up a lot of doors to get attached back to a lot of guys, Ricky Reynolds and all the boys. So I mean, I've pretty much found a good 75% of the other players that I played with, made contact with, and been in touch. And we're trying to get some stuff going. And I mentioned Kerry Gould earlier. He's been diagnosed with that ALS and everything, and I'm trying to get down hopefully to see him soon. And we just send messages and stuff back to each other, on a daily basis. So it's, the game of football was rough on us. I was listening to Tony about, the injuries and stuff like that. And I was blessed that I didn't get any other major injuries in my NFL career. I mean, I did, the normal stuff with the knees. And, but, I actually, what ended my career was, I ruptured both Achilles, and actually ruptured my left one twice, and that's what did it. I wasn't able to come back from that, so I retired, like I said, in '99 and everything. So yeah, just one of the things that's sitting around, like I said, that's one game, that Chicago game that comes up a lot with my friends and from memory and stuff like that. So it's that part of it has been fun, but and if I had to do it all over again, I would go back at that. I know we got a lot of stuff going on with concussions, that type of deal right now. I had plenty. I probably played with some because, just like Tony said, back in the day, I think we were made out of different material. I'm not knocking the guys that's playing now, but I know there's a lot of times that, I wasn't necessarily playing with pain. I was playing with an injury. I remember I had tore my calf my second year in Tampa, but I still played. We just wrapped it up, and I just sucked it up and went out there. So that's one of them things that if you had hindsight, would you do it again or whatever? And I would. I mean, I just I would still play the game the way I played it.
And Reuben, you were on the '94 team with San Diego, a team that broke my heart as a Steelers fan because you beat my boys in the AFC Championship game and went on to the Super Bowl against the 49ers. I still have nightmares of Dennis Gibson knocking that pass down intended for Barry Foster at the goal line towards the end of that game. But what do you remember about that AFC Championship game?
Oh, I remember everything about that game. From the fact when the plane landed, we come in, it was being very cold. Was expecting snow the next day, and we came in 2 days early. Stayed downtown. I remember that at the hotel. So we did a lot of walking around and shopping and just hanging out. And I have a good friend. He wasn't actually he retired from the Steelers. Delton Hall came by the hotel. We hung out a little bit. We played ball together in high school. As he went on to Clemson, and it was a great DB. He actually played a little bit at San Diego, and so we hung out in Pittsburgh. He was awesome player with Pittsburgh. And then the next day, pretty much just. I got mentally prepared. The coaches, they put a different letter in everybody's room on your bed that they wanted you to read. It was different passages and quotes from different people. And mine actually was from Bruce Lee. And it was just talking about the determination and the fight and the will to never quit. And I read that whole thing. And I remember when the game started, we felt like, we had a chance, but we knew that Pittsburgh was strong. And I think a lot of guys just played above and over, out of their minds and over their heads. I mean, they've been on a team with a guy like, Junior Seau. I can't describe what it's like to be in a locker room with a guy like that. I mean, he was just flat, furious. I mean, his eyes just had blood in. I mean, this guy was just believable. And the way he practiced, he played like that 24/7. His energy never dropped. He come in the huddle, and if he felt like you were tired, he'd get right in your face and pump you up and get you back together. So all we knew we had to do was just hang in there, get the bus shut down and everything, and then all we had to do was work on the quarterback. And I was facing one of the greatest centers again, along with training from again going back to Bubble, but Damani Dawson. And I'm actually just made friends with him about 3 weeks ago on Facebook. So we've been talking about that. So it's funny you bring this up. We talk about that game, and I knew that this guy, Pro Bowler, he's out of the world quick, and they do a lot of pulling the center. And it's very rare that you see a team use a center to pull instead of the guard. So I knew I had to be on my P's and Q's. We played what we call a cock nose. So I knew I was going to take a beating on my side from pretty much both guards. And so I did a lot of shifting that day. One of the things we beat them with, we incorporated a lot of movement up front, sliding the front and shifting. If you go back and look at that game, you see a lot of movement from us up front, a lot of outside calls. We sent a lot of Sam and weak side linebackers to keep them off guard. And we actually, like I said, when we got the run shut down, we knew all we had to concentrate then was getting back, and just, throwing our ears back and going and get the quarterback. And we ended up putting you guys in a lot of situations where it was third and long. And that was the key really for that game. And then, to get down there, when it came down to, I guess you said that nightmare when it got down to the end zone down there, and it was 4 downs, and we knew we had to stop, and it was on the defense. We went back to when we got in the huddle. I just remember Junior saying, guys, this is why we play the game. This is what we're here for. This is a one in a lifetime. And, we don't have anything to lose. We've come this far. Nobody expects us to even be here. Nobody even seen us even coming as a possible Super Bowl contender. So all we got to do is play our style of ball for 4 downs. That's all we got to give up. It ain't about another season. It ain't about another team, it's about this moment. 4 downs, just like in practice, baby. Let's get it done. I'll never forget that. And each time we came back to the huddle, he repeated it until that pass was knocked down. And I remember falling to my knees, and I think that made the Pittsburgh paper with my assistant coach hugging me and everything. And I had the big cigar in my mouth, and I actually still have that in the box. And actually, I'll never forget that. My mom has passed since then, and I remember just after the game, just hugging her, and just we're going to the Super Bowl. We headed to Miami, and just seeing the tears roll down her eyes. She was a huge football fan. And she was just one of those ladies that actually knew the game. And she said, I seen when y'all come out, and the formation y'all got in, I knew we had it. I love, she said, I don't know what y'all call that, but I love that formation. And I told her it was called 64 Eagle. And it was just something that was special, very special. Yeah, that was the beat. So to add to your nightmare, now just remember if you hear the word 64 Eagle, that's what beat you. That's what beat you. 64 Eagle.
Bob, one more for Reuben before we let him go.
Sure. What always amazed me about guys like yourself, Reuben, very, very big men, but incredibly quick. And for you to maintain that over 12 years or so, I was just wondering, well, how did you maintain it as far as the off-season workouts? What did you do to keep that quickness, Reuben?
Well, you guys, know much about Tampa. When I first moved to Tampa, like I said, I was homesick. So after my first year, I stayed in an apartment right down from the campus, from one Buck place over there for Dale Mabry from the original old stadium. And then, I needed to get back in my environment. So I actually moved out to a place called Valrico. If you may be familiar with that, Brandon, Florida, Valrico. And I was trying to find that not the palm trees, but the pine trees and that look in the country. And I found that. So I found a neighborhood out there, and called Mason Oak. And it seems like every time I come to Tampa too, I actually go out there. It's still the same. It's a community of about 40 some homes. And so it wasn't gated. It was right up the road from River Hills out there with the golf course. And so I moved out there, and at that time it was nothing out there. So I had all those fields, all that training, all that to just run. And I used to go up there to Life Fitness in the evening. It was private. And I put in work up there. Nobody knew who I was till right there at the end. It started slipping out that I was one of the Buccaneers, and so things sort of changed then. But up to that point, I got to just enjoy myself, go out and do what I wanted to do in the community. As far as working out and the neighborhood, I could just, it was basically like a 2 to 3 mile loop. And so I would go out, I jog, I put my time in coming back and forth over to one Buck place and everything. And, I just got to give that, and really it goes all the way back to the fact that, spending all those dark times basically in the basement, rehabbing my neck. And I knew that the only way you're going to be successful is to get your body at the best that it could. So, I think, breaking my neck, earning my career, was something that just instilled, that work ethic. One of the things I sort of wished I had been a little bit more, hard on myself about was, actually lifting weights, but God just blessed me with, inner strength that, I got away with a lot just because there are a lot of guys who get mad. It's like, I don't know how he do it, but, he don't put as much in the weight room as we do. He train, but I could come in and pass all my weight tests, and lifting. So, that was sort of like kind of a rare thing for me. I remember Sean Lee, Ray Seals, and those guys that used to just shake their head like, this sucker he ain't been here in the gym like we have. They, I maybe put 2 or 3 days in. Those guys were like 5, 6 days a week, in the weight room. I did more conditioning. But when it came time to put the numbers up on, bench press and squatting like that, I was either right at the top 5 or I was actually, in the top 3. And so I just look back on, one, being just blessed from my situation that happened at Carolina. And, like I said, I owe that one guy and we friends on Facebook. So, Skip on if you're out there listening, and I've already sent him a couple times through Facebook, just to let him know that, he's responsible for my NFL career and everything. And, he didn't make, the decision for me. You know, my mom didn't even need it. She looked at me and said, hey, you know, we're going to leave that to you. I mean, it's just up to you. You know, the consequences and which way this can go. So it basically came down to like I said, to the thickness of a hair strand, for, like I said, for me being in a wheelchair or playing 11 years of football. And God blessed me, and I ended up with 11 years of football. Yep.
Reuben, before we let you go, let our listeners know, what are you doing now?
Actually, man, you know, I got a thing that I actually started in Tampa. I've actually was you know, as you know, I was mentioned earlier that, and when I mentioned Stuart Scott, I majored in mass communications and journalism and broadcasting and stuff like that. So I actually haven't dipped over in that. I've actually done a little bit. But my thing was I've always had a love for music. So when I came to Tampa, I used to do a lot of DJing around at the little local bars and clubs and everything. And when I got to Arizona, I picked up and then I did it. I was big time in San Diego. So when I retired, I actually came home when I first got home and retired in '99. I was did a family business of concrete construction, and after the economy went bad in 2008, we sort of shut that down. So I got a chance to work with my dad and spend a lot of time with him and enjoying that. He's actually still alive, but he's sitting on the front porch waving. So actually, right now, what I have going on, I'm you know, like I said, back on the hill in Chapel Hill, and I've started up a mobile DJ business that has jumped off, and so I'm doing weddings, stuff like that, sneaking in on people, and you know, they eventually see my profile and find out that I'm an NFL player, but just showcasing my skills that as far as being a mobile disc jockey, and I'm also involved with kids. I have a summer camp in Greensboro that we do every year. Started about 3 years ago. We call it Fundamentals 52. It's a friend of mine that he just oh man, I don't know what to say about Earl. Earl was he's God, man. The Arena League. He coached that for a few years and everything. And so he just put together a camp, and we call it Fundamentals 52. We started out with first year with about 55, 70 kids, and then we're averaging about 300 kids in the last couple of years. We do that every year, but in June. So it usually falls about the second week of June in Greensboro, North Carolina. And so, like I said, you can catch it on the internet, fundamentals52.com. And that's fundamentals at the end instead of an S is spelled with a Z. So it's fundamentals 52 and .com. And so I have that going on. I'm a part of that. And then, like I said, my biggest thing is just traveling and touring up and down the Southeast. And I'm actually coming to Florida, but I'm going to be over in the Panhandle area for the Kentucky Wildcats doing the spring break party down there in a couple of weeks. So it's taken me around the globe a little bit as far as the Southeastern channels, basically up to Pennsylvania and Virginia and stuff like that. I've done a lot of military events and corporate events for Sprint and stuff like that. So it's booming. I'm having a great time with it. I'm actually on the internet. You can check me out. I go by the name of the Big Joker, aka DJ FX. I'm on Facebook. You can look up my page, the Big Joker. I'm also on my site where I get a lot of my gigs. It's actually called gigmasters.com. I'm on there and I'm listed as the Big Joker.
Cool. There you go. Great stuff, Reuben. Yeah. Thank you so much for taking time out of your night to be a part of the show. You've been fantastic. I hope you'll come back and join us again sometime. Love to get some more time with you.
Yes, sir. Anytime, take me. I got a lot of stories to tell. Any angle you guys want to go with it, I've actually enjoyed it. Bob and Chris, and I appreciate y'all. I wasn't actually trying to even solicit for an opportunity to be on here. I was just messing with Bob. I love the guy. Like I said, just to see he's still doing good and posting on Facebook. Like I said, we become friends. So I was messing with him because I know the times that we used to have together. But I appreciate it giving me an opportunity to come in and too, because I'm humble. I'm laid back, and like I said, I just been taking my second part of my life pretty easy and just enjoying what football gave me the opportunity to do and be. Yeah.
There you go. So thank you so much, Reuben. We'll catch up again with you hopefully real soon. In between now and then, all the best to you, what you're doing, and to your family as well.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. I'll be listening myself now that I got you guys hooked up and everything. I'll be checking y'all out, trying to keep up with the guys. I appreciate y'all. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Right, take care, Reuben. Thank you for that. That is former North Carolina and Tampa Bay Bucs. Also spent some time with the Cardinals and Chargers. But Reuben Davis, fantastic stuff, Bob.
Oh man, what a great guy, Chris. It struck me, ninth round draft pick, and man, it seemed like his mom was such an inspiration, and with hard work, man, the guy put in such a great career. Didn't miss many games, and was a very, very good player. And of course, I love his energy with the DJ stuff, Chris. I'll go to any party he's doing, man. And so, yeah, I'd love to have him on the TV side up here. Anytime you can talk to a guy like that, it's great. So that was a great guy to speak with tonight. Can't wait to do it again.
Absolutely right. All right, and now joining us on the Kyvan Foods guest line is our next guest, Jeff Criswell. Let me remind you about Jeff's background. He is from Searsboro, Iowa, which is a small town of a population of 164 folks in the central part of Iowa. Played his college ball at Graceland University, which is an NAIA school up there in Iowa. He was a 4-year starter and an All-American. In 2000, he was inducted into the Graceland Sports Hall of Fame. Jeff was an undrafted free agent signed by the Colts in 1987, and he played in the league from 87 to 1998 for the Colts, Jets, and Chiefs. And we're excited he is back with us again here tonight on Thursday Night Tailgate. Hey, Jeff, Chris, and Bob, thanks for making time for us tonight.
Hey, Jeff.
Hey guys, how are you? I'm glad and fortunate to be here. If you've ever been on a New York train late at night coming from the city to Greenwich, it's quite interesting. I can tell you that.
No doubt. So, Jeff, I wanted to kind of start our time with you tonight. Here we are. We're coming to the end of the exhibition season. We're getting ready to start the regular season. You signed, with the Colts as an undrafted free agent. We know that that's got to be a hard road to hoe to get through and, to be recognized by the coaching staff, get their attention, and then to make your way all the way through all of that and make it to the final roster. What did you do to catch the coaching staff's eye when the Colts signed you?
Well, I would like to say that I dazzled them and, made all the right moves and, created my own luck. But the truth of the matter is, in 1987, I had already been out of football and working, moved from out of Graceland and moved to Southern California, was working in a fitness center as a general manager or an assistant manager there, and had basically been out of football for over a year and a half. And then the strike came in 1987. At that point, I still had an agent. I don't even know why. And the opportunity where they were, basically bringing guys in off of the street. And that's how I got my opportunity to showcase what talent I had and signed with the Indianapolis Colts, which we ended up winning, 2 out of 3 games. I think we were there a total of 5 or 6 weeks. And it was a fast paced learning, had to learn everything in 10 days. And then I had our first game. I had never played on AstroTurf before. Graceland College, AI Division II school. At that time, there weren't any schools, and even in our conference, that had turf. So there's a lot of, playing in a stadium, never lived in a stadium, always played in kind of a cow pasture that had bleachers around it. And so it was quite different for me as a small player. God bless my coaches at Graceland, but quite frankly, I didn't know a lot of the calls that offensive lines generally have throughout the league, not only in college football, but in the pros as well. So I had to learn pretty quick, and I really attribute me making the team and then going on from there to the Jets the following year and really competing for a job at that point that, they could bring in. I think we had 145 guys come into camp with the New York Jets in 1988, which now I think it's 80 players, and there's limited roster and all this kind of stuff. But I think we had like 14 deep at guard and tackle. So
wow.
And yeah, it was just insane. And what little scouting that my agent, who really I was his only player, he was a new agent and he lived in California as well. He had researched the team to see, what their needs were, which, is what agents should be doing. And of course they had a couple veteran players. They didn't know if they were happy with them. If they were going to draft, late in the later rounds. And lo and behold, I signed with them, and lo and behold, they go after, they get a first round, a third round, a sixth round, and a ninth round offensive lineman. Not to mention the guys they already had. So I always say, if I wouldn't have went in '87 and played during the strike and got some experience, because I was actually able, when I got to the Jets, to work in with the veterans. They considered me more or less a veteran versus a rookie, and it gave me more reps. It gave me a little more clout with coaches, and I picked up on everything very quickly. Thank God. Joe Walton was the coach at the time, and Richie Kotite was the offensive coordinator, and frankly, that offense was a tough offense to learn. I can't even tell you. I remember Kenny O'Brien stating to us one time that he had I think it was 14 or 15 things he had to say in the huddle just to get one play off, putting everybody in the right position, getting the play, the count, and all. Yeah, it was just insane to learn that. Of course, we only had to learn a small part of that, but so anyway, I attribute, being quick on my feet and thinking, being a thinking man, and getting the opportunity and doing the best, making the best of it at that time. So that's kind of how I got into that. That is how I got into pro football. And when I got to the Jets, I ended up making the not only the team, but was rotating in with a starting guard at the time, which was Mike Haight. And then our left tackle, who was a first-round pick, Dave Cadigan from USC, he went down in the fourth game with a foot injury. And they needed me to replace him. And truthfully, I was playing more guard than I was playing tackle, but I was the backup. And so my first start in the National Football League with the Jets was against the Detroit Lions. And I did okay. I played hard. I felt like I had a lot of rug burns and carpet burns at that time. And if you're an offensive lineman, you're on the ground a lot, that's really not that good. And at least that's what they told me. And I remember I made a stupid rookie mistake. And because one of the reporters in New York had asked me, how I was going to play and what did I really think I was going to do. And I remember saying I was going to kick whoever it was his butt. And not thinking about the repercussions of, how that might fire the other team up, or even what my own teammates might say about it. I was just a dumb rookie. And I remember going to the airport that day to get on the plane to go play Detroit. And our offensive line coach at the time was Dan Radakovich, and he had a newspaper in his hand. And he sat down beside me at the airport, and I thought, what the hell is he sitting beside me for? And next thing you know, he opens the paper and he starts to read, and he gave me a cussing for that. Yeah, it was terrible. And even worse was the very next game was against as a Monday night game, and it was against the Buffalo Bills, and of course Bruce Smith being on the right end. Guys, I don't think I even touched him that night. I don't remember. He was just like a blur going around me constantly. And needless to say, we were down 35-0, I think, at halftime. And I had given up 2 sacks, a fumble, an offsides, a holding. I mean, everything you could possibly go wrong went wrong. And they stuck with me, and I got better. So that's how I got started.
And Jeff, as you talk about the local New York press and the media up there, and while you were with the Jets, the team had between 6 and 8 wins a season, and playing in New York, that usually doesn't go over very well either with the fans or the media. What was it like for you trying to deal with the media or the fans during that time?
You're absolutely right. I mean, unfortunately, winning is everything, and I got to find that out in the later part of my career when I signed with the Chiefs, and we won the AFC West twice, and we're 13-3, and had good players and good quarterbacks, and just a good team to play for and good owner. And truthfully, Leon Hess and the organization, they were good ownership too, and they were willing to put the money out there, but we didn't win very many football games. And I remember in I think it was 92, Bruce Coslet was our coach, and Dave Cadigan and I decided that we were going to have a radio show, and we started with WBAB, and that went pretty well. I think it was actually the first year Boomer Esiason was on our team, and we had some success there. I think we went 8-8. We beat the Dolphins in the last regular season game to give us an even record, but put us in the playoffs, and we played the Houston Oilers. But as far as the media goes, being that there are so many tabloids there's so much press coverage. And at that time, the New York Giants were Super Bowl champions almost every year, it seemed. And we were kind of second-class citizens. And, these guys were going around, they all of them had their own gigs on Fridays and their own radio shows. And, I mean, everybody was doing commercials, and we were trying to stay out of the spotlight, with our record. And regardless of how good you are if you're on a bad team long enough, your name comes up as potentially part of the problem, or maybe not working out for you. And for the most part, I would say that my personal success, I had a lot of success with the Jets. I played pretty well for them, but we didn't win very many games, and it was frustrating. And it was well written about, constantly. It seemed like we were always defending ourselves to the paper and so forth, and justifiably so. We weren't winning very many football games, and truthfully, the fans deserved a lot better than what we were putting on the field. There were times that I felt like it was Murphy's Law that they'd kick the ball off. Instead of going forward, we would be back on the 5-yard line, worried about a safety. And instead of, worried about making a touchdown, we're going backwards right on the first kickoff. And it seemed that way for quite some time. And then, like I said, once I got out of New York and signed with the Chiefs, an already established Marty Schottenheimer team, most winning team in the 90s. So it was a lot of fun, and it took a lot of pressure. Takes a lot of pressure off you. Sometimes I can remember a couple seasons there, we were out of by the 8th game of the year, and it was just everybody was injured, and it was just ridiculous. But you pull through it, and what don't kill you makes you stronger. And I think it did make me a little stronger over the years.
Bob, questions for Jeff?
It's great to speak with you again, Jeff. I remember I was a student in college in the 80s in New York City, and going down to the Meadowlands and tailgating, and whether the team was not too good or not, Jeff, we had so much fun watching you guys. And being a professional athlete like you were in the big city for 7 years, I'm sure you saw, Jeff, a lot of guys that either got eat up by it or just didn't handle it correctly. Didn't seem like you had that problem, but talk about being a big athlete playing in New York for at least an extended period of time.
Well, you know what? Recently I watched LT's story, his documentary. It's been out for a while, but I just recently had watched it. And he's a guy I played against, and I like to hear his story and how, things developed for him. And, he had a great career and perennial All-Pro and Hall of Famer, but he had a checkered past as well. And there has been guys through the years, especially in New York, being that there's so many things that you can get caught up in, and everybody wanting a piece of you, and that's like that anywhere you go. Maybe in Kansas City, it was a little more hometown, and you didn't have it quite as much. Because I could tell you, on Monday nights when our nights were off to go out and have a beer or whatever, there was a lot to do in New York on Monday nights, believe it or not. I remember going to the China Club and the Palladium. We were just talking about that today. It was the Limelight, on and on and on with what's open on Monday nights. And then you go out to the Midwest. And I remember I had my own limousine service all the time, but partly just because I didn't like driving in New York. But you go to Kansas City, there's nothing open on Monday nights, and it was a good place to raise your family. So, but guys do get caught up in it. And, we lived in, the thing about the Jets at the time, we actually lived in Long Island, and most of us lived out towards Jones Beach and Point Lookout and Long Beach. which, is quite a trip to the city. So you don't, I think maybe we had one guy or two guys that actually lived in the city and took a train or whatever to get out to Hempstead. So we weren't caught up in it maybe as much as maybe the Giants were, being that they were actually easier commute to the city than we were from where they are.
Jeff, when I think of retired offensive linemen in the league, I think of guys that really took beatings and their legs took beatings. And I think of guys like Mark Schlereth with the multiple knee surgeries. And it seems like knees take a beating. And that's a sport where all people's knees take beating. But the offensive lineman, Jeff, is it a question of being so big, having that kind of weight on your build, or is it just the backpedaling? What do you attribute a lot of those bad injuries to offensive linemen, or the fact that a lot of them aren't doing well now as far as getting around well?
You know what? I'm at that age. I'm 53 now, and I'm at the age where a lot of my friends, and including myself at times, I've been very fortunate. The things that have happened to me over the years, I wouldn't even say are so much football related. Currently, I think I have my right knee is I can feel a little bone on bone, but it's not at a point where I can't run and jump and do things, and it doesn't swell up. But you're right, and some guys just have bad luck. I can tell you that offensive and defensive linemen, even the linebackers and running backs, we pretty much, especially the linemen, we hit somebody on every play, even in practice. I know even with playing with the Chiefs, Marty Schottenheimer would have the no-pad drills, but he still expected you to kind of hit each other, and actually deterred a lot of free agents from coming to the Chiefs. But it was tough. I counted in one practice, I hit my head 400 times on something, whether it be a bag, a person, my own teammate just running through drills, but 400 times just, clipping somebody. And so it's a no wonder that guys have concussion syndrome and CTE or neck injuries or total hip replacements at my age and total knee replacements at my age and so forth. So, but I feel very fortunate. I'm doing well. I thank the good Lord for that. And I'm still able to work out and stay in shape.
So, Jeff, one more before we let you go. And the final game that you played in 1992 came against the Saints, and they had one of the great defenses of all time. That year, guys like Sam Mills and Ricky Jackson, Von Dunbar, Pat Swilling, our good friend Toy Cook was on that team as well. Do you remember that game and what it was like going up against that defense?
Yeah, my last game with the Jets was actually in '94, and I couldn't even tell you who we played against. But I do remember going to New Orleans and playing in the Superdome, I think it was at the time. And I remember that team. And I can tell you a player that you didn't just mention that was an incredible football player and no one liked to play against him. It was Jumpy Geathers. He had a patented move called the forklift, and he could pick guys just off the ground. And so I remember, the guards having a tough time. Of course, I had Pat Swilling on my side, and Ricky Jackson was on the other side, and they had some good DBs, and they were a little skeptic on offense, but I think they ended up beating us that game. I don't remember what the score was, but I do remember that they did beat us that particular game. It was a tough one.
And Jeff, one other thing I wanted to get to see if you had a memory of one of our good friends on the show here is the former middle linebacker for the Colts, Jeff Harrod. And obviously you guys were in the same division, with the Colts at that point. Do you remember playing up against Jeff and you guys? Twice a year.
Yeah, Jeff and I hit each other a bunch of times, and he was always talking a little smack to me, and I'd talk it right back. And I'll tell you another guy you just had on tonight that I played a lot against was Marco. I was already a 5-year vet when he came onto the scene for Miami, and I remember playing him many many times with the Dolphins and a couple times with the Chargers as well before I ended my career. So that's another guy. And I think Reuben Davis, I'm pretty certain he was during my time as well.
Right.
But I don't remember. I think he was an interior guy, and I don't think I remember him much. But yeah, those guys. I do remember Jeff Ferrata and playing against him. He was a very competitive, great player for Indianapolis. It was fun. It was fun to. It was always a good rival with Indianapolis Colts when I was with the Jets.
Jeff, before we let you go, remind our listeners how they can follow you, whether it's online or over social media.
You know what? On your show is a good way. Facebook, I am on Facebook. I tend not to friend everybody, but if you know somebody I know, I normally do. But right now, I'm a realtor here in Greenwich, Connecticut, and I'm looking to do some things with Brandon Steiner, and Steiner Sports. This year some, and I don't know what that's going to all entail. And I'm sure you guys are quite familiar with Brandon and what he does. Yep. But I'm really, really kind of excited to be around sports and athletics and athletes and contributing. And I think there's some things I'm going to do with him that are going to be new and different and provide that for me as well. But that's it. I'm here in Greenwich, so if you guys need me to come back on, I'll definitely do that for you. I really enjoy my time talking with you about it. Always brings back a lot of memories, that's for sure.
Excellent.
Yeah. We appreciate your time tonight, Jeff, and we'll definitely have you back on. We can't thank you enough for getting off the train and giving us a call and being a part of the show tonight. And we look forward to catching up with you hopefully again real soon.
Okay, guys. You have a good one.
All right. Take care, Jeff.
Bye, guys.
That is former Jets and Chiefs tackle Jeff Criswell. And, Bob, to think about, clipping somebody's helmet and getting hit in the head 400 times in a practice. I mean, that's crazy.
Oh, just hearing about it, Chris, and with all the CTE and hearing. But, I mean, what first came to my mind is, again, this is a guy that played 171 games in the NFL, rarely missed a game. I remember him when he was here in New York, such a big man, too, Chris, 6'7", about 300 pounds. And just the pounding on the legs and the head. And it's amazing. Like you said, a lot of these guys get out of it better than others. And he seems like he's doing very well still with it. And very intelligent man. But was a fan favorite in New York because he was there for a long time and on some not so good teams. But you mentioned guys like Jeff Criswell back in those days. And they will remember the big man on the left side. So it's always a pleasure speaking with him. Great player.
Yeah, yes, he was. So we look forward to catching up with Jeff again here real soon. All right. When Bob and I come back, we'll be turning on our Thursday Night Tailgate Spotlight on the Positive. So stick with us. Hear which players are doing great things in their communities. We'll do that and wrap up the show on the other side of this word about our friends at the Salt Creek Golf Retreat.
If you're looking for a great place for your annual golf outing, a weekend golf getaway, or just a round of golf with your buddies, then Salt Creek Golf Retreat is just what you're looking for. Centrally located in Nashville, Indiana, just south of Indianapolis and west of Cincinnati. This challenging but fair 18-hole golf course appeals to all skill levels, and its scenic views of rolling hills and tree-lined fairways are sure to make golfing memories for years to come. Owned and operated by former Purdue and New York Giant fullback Randy Manier, Salt Creek Golf Retreat offers stay and play packages that include golf and a fully furnished 1 or 2 bedroom condo. After your round, be sure to stop by the 19th Hole Sports Bar and Restaurant for great food, fun, and drinks. Randy and his staff will treat you like family. For more information, log on to saltcreekgolf.com. That's saltcreekgolf.com. Or give them a call at 812-558-5944. Salt Creek Golf Retreat. Start making your golfing memories today.
Thursday Night Tailgate, where the spotlight is always on the positive. Tune in Thursday night from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time to hear your favorite NFL legends, players, and coaches sharing their stories. Now back to Chris and Bob.
I wouldn't joke about anything else that happens here tonight.
And we are back here on Thursday Night Tailgate, and we're turning on our spotlight on the positive. Bob, who do you have for us this week?
I want to give a shout-out this week, Chris, to the entire Miami Dolphins Community Relations Department because, on the whole, Chris, they utilize all the players on the roster to do some incredibly good things in the community. Just reading today about just some of the things they do throughout the year. I think one of the cooler things they do, Chris, before every home game, they pick a student of the week from the Miami area that they pick to go to one of the games. They'll give them a beautiful seat. And this is done in coordination with the schools around there. They'll talk to principals and teachers to get a really good student who's into, classroom achieving and citizenship. And they get that kid into the field, and they do an on-the-field presentation and also give him a great seat, him or her, and also give him a nice gift certificate from Publix supermarket. So they really do it up, and it makes the kids feel terrific. And they also are very, especially this summer, Chris, they've been very, very instrumental in a summer reading program that they do every year through many of the counties surrounding Miami down there. This includes the players, the cheerleaders. They go into schools or summer reading programs, Chris, and they actually purchased a lot of books. I think up until this point, they've donated books to at least 20,000 children throughout that area. So that's another thing they do. And they also they offer license plates, Chris, down there. They have a thing going on, the Florida Sports Foundation. If you buy a license plate with the Dolphins insignia and logo stuff, costs $25, but all those proceeds, people don't realize, they go to local youth charities down there, and which they sponsor a lot of regional sporting events, and I think they've over $250,000 has been donated to that. And there's a lot of other things, Chris. If you go to the community relations page and the Dolphin website, there's more auctions and things like this about used equipment that they do and how it all brings money to charities. But as an organization, Chris, they're at the top as far as doing things all year round with the good weather down in Florida. So kudos to the entire organization of the Dolphins for getting out there in the public and giving to charity.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a great story, Bob. And this week, Bob, I want to put the spotlight on Texans Pro Bowl defensive end J.J. Watt, along with Texans owner Bob McNair, Patriots owner Robert Kraft, Titans owner Amy Adams Strunk, and the whole Jets ownership team, because, Bob, they've all given large sums of money to a fundraiser to help all the folks down in the Houston area. J.J. Watt started his out, right. He put together a fundraiser online, and he put in the first $100,000. He got a couple of $100,000 in donations over the first couple of hours. So a few hours in, they're already at $300,000. Well, then Titans owner Amy Strunk, who is a native of Houston as well, she donates $1 million to the cause. Texans owner Bob McNair, Patriots owner Robert Kraft, and then the Jets ownership group, they donated $1 million each to the Red Cross. The NFL Foundation also matched the $1 million that those owners donated to the Red Cross. But J.J. Watt, he's getting things, through social media, through places like Twitter, continuing to raise the bar for the goal that he wanted to raise for the people, there in Houston. He started out with a goal of $1 million, right? So Strunk, knocked that out right away. So they had raised $1.5 million within, half a day. So he raised a goal to $3 million. Well, they eclipsed that within 24 hours. And Bob, the fundraiser continues even to today. But earlier today, they've gotten over $10 million. J.J. Watt from a $100,000 personal donation to opening it up and putting it out on Twitter, getting a couple $100,000 on top of that. So $300,000 within a few hours. And here we are just a couple of days later, and they've surpassed $10 million, for the folks down in Houston. So, kudos to J.J. Watt for raising the money for folks in Houston. And then also, like I say, the Texans owner, Patriots, Jets, and Titans for jumping right in on that. And it seems like more and more people, since J.J. Watt raised the notion of doing this fundraiser, there are people from all over, right? Entertainers and, people are donating $500,000, $1 million. Sandra Bullock, $1 million, from her. And there's, several others have jumped in on this. So it's an amazing outpouring of support and dollars, for the folks, in the Houston area, Bob. So, again, kudos to J.J. Watt and everybody here that's been involved. And, people around, not only around the country, but around the world that have, jumped on, to add whatever they could do. The majority of the donations have been somewhere between, $10 and $50. So people just doing, whatever they can do. And you think about it, Bob, for putting it out on social media and the folks coming together, everyone coming together, if everyone gives, $5, $10, $30, whatever you're able to, the good it's going to do for, our brothers and sisters, if you will, in Houston. So again, kudos to J.J. Watt. It's been an unbelievable outpouring, Bob. A tremendous story.
It is, Chris, and we could talk a long time about this because as bad as a tragedy as this is and will continue to be, I've never quite seen a response on the part of America, and there's a lesson there. I mean, we can go on about the divisiveness in this country and et cetera, but it takes something like this to see how people can work together and get to something. And as bad as it is, Chris, and everything like that, I'm just astounded at the amount of donations and the number of them coming in. And when it's all over, Chris, I don't know if financing is going to be that much of a major problem because of such incredibly amounts of money and the power of social media. Of course, you can't replace a lot of the sentimental things, Chris, and just the devastation of taking your whole life away. But I think the money is going to be there thanks to all these great people and the word getting out there. And I guess we learned a lot from Katrina.
Right.
But it gives you a little more pride to be an American this week, seeing what's happening now. And I'm just glad we got a chance to publicize that on the show tonight.
Yeah, and that's the thing, Bob. And you mentioned the divisiveness that we've seen around our country, over the last year or so. But this shows you, another story shows you the good things going on and in the country coming together. And I think this is the silver lining in this really dark cloud is, the outpouring of, support and affection and dollars, to help the folks that have been impacted by this horrible storm. So that silver lining is the Americans coming together, and I'm sure people from around the world coming together to support, this terrible thing. And I think you're right. I think we learned a valuable lesson from Katrina, and this has been a fantastic thing. So again, kudos to all involved.
Yep, thank you.
All right, Bob, time for us to put a bow on this episode of Thursday Night Tailgate. We want to say thanks once again to Mike Jones, Tony Collins, Reuben Davis, and Jeff Criswell for joining us. Marco Coleman scheduled to join us. We'll get him back on the show another time. Look forward to catching up with Marco, hopefully again soon. And Bob, as always, great spending my Thursday nights with you, my friend.
Well, thanks for putting it together, Chris. That was a ton of fun, and there's some tough circumstances this week, but we made it work and had a lot of fun. And tell me what's going on next week here.
Yeah, so next week we're going to kick off the month of September in a New York state of mind, if you will, with a return visit from former Jets defensive back Victor Green. Former Jets and Bucs tight end Anthony Becht will be back with us. Always look forward to having the opportunity to talk to Anthony, one of our favorites. Former Patriots, Bills, and Ravens Pro Bowl fullback Sam Gass is going to be here. Had a great time with Sam. He was on the show not that long ago, but excited to get him back on again so quickly. And then former Jets, Falcons, and Lions safety Eric Coleman will make his TNT debut with us. Plus, of course, Tony Collins will get into our 5-star picks of the week next week. So a great show lined up for you next week, folks. We hope you'll come back and be a part of it with Bob and I. Please, on social media, how can you follow us? Well, check out our Facebook page, Thursday Night Tailgate. We've got a show page there. Give us a like. That's very important to us. Bob and I both, of course, have our own Facebook pages as well, and please check out our website, ThursdayNightTailgate.com. On there, you'll be able to see who some of our future guests are going to be. Plus, you can stream or download any of our recent episodes on the site as well. On Twitter, you can follow me at CT Mascaro. Bob is at Bob_Lazari, and the show is at TNT Podcast. Plus, you can also stream us online by going to tunein.com or over to Podbean. And again, as we always say, we can't thank those folks enough for their support. We've been a featured show on their in their sports and recreation section for several months now. So we thank them for their support of the show. And if you're looking for great podcasts across all genres, not just sports, but every genre out there, Podbean's your place. They've got a ton of great podcasts for you that you can stream or download right from their site or from their mobile app as well. Bob, take us home, my friend.
All right, I was going to sing over you, Chris, New York State of Mind, but I'll put Billy Joel on once we sign off here. So it's going to be a lot of fun next week. And thanks to our announcer, Joe LaGenusa, for the great job he does with our weekly intro and ads, and to James Brocato and all the guys from Painted Faces for the upcoming outro music. On behalf of myself and Chris, thanks to everyone tonight for listening. We appreciate you all the most. Until next week, good night, Kevin. We miss you.